Hey guys, welcome back to Lunatic Astrology, and I'm your astrologer, Lori Lothe, and today I want to talk about Saturn finally going direct. And oh my God, for us Saturnian beings, like I have Saturn on the ascendant in Aquarius, this is such a relief. You can't feel the relief yet, but I'm going to talk about how it might impact you with your sign. It's still just too slow. He's just like pivoted into forward direction, and he hasn't actually started really picking up speed yet. But I want to talk about how a god of structure, legacy, time, perseverance, sobriety, discipline, building foundations, mastery. When he goes into retrograde, which we just got over May 23rd till now, some of our parts of our life really get stuck. And they're not stuck because of, for no good reason. We get stuck because we need to pause. And Saturn to me is like the guy who really won't build a faulty foundation if he can avoid it. There's no use like putting a bunch of, concrete down if you know that the soil on which the concrete is set is, for instance, a swamp. So Saturn is like that. He's like, not going to build here, guys. So things in our lives since May 23rd till now may have retracted and contracted, and we may have stepped back from them. So I'm going to talk about your rising sign, sun sign, and moon sign. And now that he's moving forward, where in your life, which the 12 sections of your life, 12 houses, you're going to have forward momentum. Reminder to look at your rising sign first and then your sun and moon. You can use all three, of course. Your sun sign is best used if you're born in the day, sun above the axis of the horizon line, and your moon if you're born at night. Now, the other thing I want to say is that I feel that we also have to remember that Saturn will still be in the shadow of its retrogrades until sometime in January. I think it's around January 21st. So even though, yay, here we are, October 11th, and finally this big giant of time and karma and discipline and perseverance is moving forward, he doesn't clear the retrograde zone where he started. Like, in other words, he's still going forward, but over old ground where he has already been before. So it's the fresh space out of the retrograde zone after January 21st to June of 2022, June, July, August, September, January to June next year, where some of this true promise of Saturn going direct will be felt by you. Okay. All right. I think I said that right. Let's go ahead and do the all signs portion of this session today. I am going to start with a general thought before I do. I should have done that first. Check out my Divine Timing Masterclass down below. It starts on October 17th. I may or may not do it, depends if I get a minimum of 10 students. I'm maxing out at 22. I've taught it before to a large group of 50 people, but it was just too many people for that type of content. Take this course if you already have a level of a high beginner to intermediate awareness of the basics of astrology. Okay, so otherwise you might find it overwhelming. Divine Timing Masterclass looked at some really interesting techniques for coding cycles in your life using astrology, as well as other techniques, including numerology. All right, so we're going to go ahead now and do the all signs portion of the reading. Wait, one more thing. United States. Well, I was thinking about this today, Saturn going into direct motion for the United States and how that might impact the US. Governance can be Saturnian, right? And, the rules and clamping down and constricting people's choices, giving them laying down the old, confinement laws like lockdowns, being stuck in a lockdown because of pandemic, mandates, forced vaccinations, that kind of thing. That can be actually Saturn behaving not so great because he's retrograding in Aquarius, his own sign. I would argue that Saturn going direct between now and, let's say, January, he's still in the shadow of the old stuff he did, before. It's going to tell us a new story by the time we get to January 21st. I'm predicting that it will look like a way less government hard control over people and freedom. And, as Saturn is going direct, he's coming into in December, that last square to Uranus. So it could actually imply that the people will prevail for freedom and individual rights and maybe innovation even over lockdown, mandates, rules, constriction, all of that. So I'm going to see there's going to be some pulling back and some return to more of a normalcy around those things. Okay, let's go ahead and do the all signs. We're going to start today with Aquarius. And the reason I want to do Aquarius is because these guys, and I'm an Aquarius rising, sun and moon, listen as well, are getting the most intensity from what Saturn does in the sky. So for us Aquarius rising especially, but sun and moon, the energy of this is about our identity. It's about our body. It's about our health. It's about our sense of selfhood. It's really affecting us. And, this whole journey of Saturn through our Aquarian first house from the from December of 2020 all the way through until March of 23 is one big grow up. Where if it's big, it's super adulting us, it's making us very practical and realistic about what we want, whether we can achieve what we want. Saturn gets the realism into the story, and that'll include about our bodies and our health. A lot of us Aquarians, Saturn in the first house especially, are feeling old all of a sudden, feeling like the crone or the wise man or the senex, feeling like the aged one. And my body's gone through a lot of stuff, some of my other Aquarian risings as well, where suddenly it feels like Father Time is catching up with my body and telling me I need to do something different in order to stay lively for the rest of my next, 30 years before it comes back to my first house. So all of us people who are Aquarian, especially rising sign, are feeling that we've got this sober energy with Saturn in our first house. However, during a retrograde, May 23rd, to now, and those retrograde degrees might be useful to us all. And believe he went retrograde. Let me just grab my retrogradation chart so I get the degree of retrogradation. Saturn, you started going retrograde at 13 degrees of Aquarius and are turning around at 6 degrees of Aquarius. If your sun or moon is within that range, or flank it up either 3 degrees on either side of that, you're definitely we're feeling really intensely how sluggy it's been with Saturn going into retrograde. So I'm in that category. My ascendant gets impacted by this retrograde. And so keep that in mind. So this journey backwards since May for some of the Aquarian rising and sun and moon people will have been very introspective and asked us to go into our inner sage, inner guide, inner wisdom. And it really didn't allow us to build new foundations and structures and things we want to achieve or do in the world. And if we tried, it really felt, usually for most of us, it fell flat. It was kind of chop wood, carry water, hold your own, pause, wait, consolidate. And as for the constriction of Saturn, like, he's confinement, right? He kind of rules like being imprisoned and put in a dungeon. Maybe some of us felt like we were in a very confined place since May, and, there wasn't a lot of freedom in our lives. So right now that's turning around. And for me, I'm an avid traveler. I haven't been anywhere for so long, as most of us happened for the pandemic. I knew better than to try to make a big, plan for any trip during Saturn's retrograde in my first house. But just to remind us all that as Saturn goes direct, there may be some momentum there around more freedom and less constriction for things like that. And for you Aquarians, especially freedom loving as you are, and all of that, this is a breath of fresh air. So look for more directionality and momentum with realistic, grounded, solid ideas about what you can build and new things you want to do and create in the world and directions you want to go in. Have Saturn's blessing between now and next June, especially in January as we get out of the shadow period. I would prescribe that you plan and plot like a blueprint of what you want to create in 2022 and launch it or really actualize it in January around the 21st, when we are out of the retrograde shadow that Saturn had created. All right, so thanks for listening to that. Let's move on. So we're going to talk next about Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. So Pisces people, something, you guys are like the kind of people when you have Saturn doing anything with you that it doesn't really fit anyway, because you are mutable and you are watery. So you're not really fond of the vibe that Saturn has. Okay, let's just lay it out there. Okay, you're like the vast ocean, you're flowy, you're floaty, you're changeable, you're mutable, and all Saturn is structure, form, and discipline. So you don't necessarily have a great affinity for each other. Just want to point that out just energetically. And yeah, this time with Saturn in your 12th house, where he entered into that part of your chart, your 12th house in December of 2020, will be there till March of 2023. I would argue this is the one time that you and Saturn get along, because he's in that house that represents the vast Akashic record, unconscious, collective unconscious, dreams at night, floaty, transcendent and mystical zone of the chart, which is their very nature. You know, that's why Pisces is the natural ruler of the 12th house in terms of the Aries first house system. So with Saturn here now, he wants you to get wise. He wants to wise you up, and he's trying to give you guidance. And so May 23rd, back it up, you know, to now, you probably got involved with some kind of wisdom tradition system that may have felt familiar to you, like you were learning something from another time and place, you know, a past life vibe. So as Saturn now is doing his forward momentum, if you had a guide, a teacher, a mentor, a spiritual guide, somebody you were working with, it's quite possible that's going to happen anyway between now and 2023 with Saturn in your 12th house. You are going to start to move in a direction now between now and January 21st to consolidate what you learned or what you've been getting from your own inner guidance, from your dreams at night, from your own introspection, and you're going to move it forward. Now that also applies to moving into a time of releasing the things that you do to yourself that don't serve you, like addictions or false beliefs or self-undoing and sabotaging yourself. And so this is going to be Saturn moving direct now to sort of lay down a more hard law to let you release some of those things and give you the power to do that. You know, when Saturn was moving through my 12th house, I joined something called the Sober Sisters and like really worked on my sobriety. But it can be emotional, mental, and physical and spiritual hangups that you will have Saturn supporting you with until 2023. New momentum though today, hallelujah, especially looking at this like building traction in January and then really building traction until June of next year when he once again will retrograde in that 12th house. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that. Anything else? No, it's gonna be short and sweet. I'm trying to be short and sweet. Although I realize I probably am belaboring some signs because of my interest in them. Aries, sun, moon, rising signs. So guys, you guys are experiencing Saturn in a very positive house, the house of good spirit, your 11th. It's all a good place where you get like a lot of luck and things tend to go your way and you get great gains and rewards from your career path. You can find that friends want to really help you and they act like they're, you know, allies and they want to benefit you. So they give you favors and you can be very influential in social media, like big circles and groups of people, or even within the context of groups that you belong to. Like suddenly, like Saturn going through your Aries folk through your 11th house, you could be like elected president of the astrological society that you belong to, or you could rise to more authority, Saturn, within the context of some group of belonging. But here he's been retrograde. You know, he got there in December of 20, but he's been retrograding since May 23rd or so, 2022 now. 21 to now. That may have felt like you had a slowdown in your groups and affiliations, that you really felt confined and restricted and stuck around the social groups and social circles that you have. And, you know, and this is for Aries rising, but it applies to sun and moon as well. And I'm a sun moon. And I can tell you, I felt like I had no traction in anything I was doing on my social media stuff, including my YouTube channel that you're listening to. It just began to turn around in the last couple of weeks. But, you know, no matter how much content or whatever I put out there, it was like, you know, no new subscribers, no growth, no nothing. So the feeling of constriction, of stuck, of sloggy around those things, including financial gain that you can expect from the hard career work you're doing and recognition for it, those are beginning to turn around. Now, Saturn does nothing quickly. It's not an overnight success story. He's going to turn his face and he's moving now forward. And he's going to do this kind of slow glide. And when we get to about January 21st, he's covered the shadow territory. So he's going to be in fresh territory. That's not part of his retrograde shadow, meaning that he's not going to try to rehab old ground, but now he's going to bring fresh new ground. And that comes in about the third week of January. So be patient. But right now you'll start to feel it's like a sea change. So things are starting to look up. Lastly, Aries, an authority figure, a person in power, an expert of some sort, Saturn in the 11th, could really come to benefit you by taking you under their wing or wanting to be an ally to support you in your work, in your money story, in your sense of accomplishment, and in actualizing your truest dreams, hopes, and wishes. Because, you know, we have our true hopes, dreams, and wishes in that house, what we aspire to or see our future look like. Kind of jokingly sometimes call it the vision board house. So if you want to see what Saturn can do here, he's going to give you the basic foundational building blocks to build out a new vision and dream. Oh, until he leaves there in March of 2023. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. So you Taurian bulls are going to experience this, and you're a fixed sign. The fixed signs don't do too bad with Saturn in general, by the way. You're going to experience Saturn's motion forward as getting unstuck in your sense of your purpose in life, your career path, your status and reputation in the world, that 10th house, place where you take action in order to do something on planet Earth as a soul. So usually it's our career. Sometimes it's our status as well. Like if we're single, then divorced, or, you know, married, and then we're separated, or, you know, changes of public status. So I would suggest for some Taurus sun, moon, and risings, might have a change over the course of the next few months as Saturn moves direct in your status, your reputation, your success in your career, and a deeper knowing about what it is that your purpose might be in terms of the work you wish to do in the world. Saturn got here, oh my gosh, you know, back in December of 2020, will be here till March of 23. And Saturn will give you authority and power. And it's kind of like harvest time of what you've been doing over the last, oh my goodness, you know, hasn't been there for 29 years ago, for quite a long time. You could really say maybe more so around 14 years ago. You begin to build toward this moment now in your career and in the success you wish to accomplish in the world. And this is a pinnacle time. So if you're on your path in general, Saturn is trying to give you the total power and glory vibe up there. But if you're not really on path and you're not sure what you want, Saturn can compress and restrict your career in order to take you in a new direction. Yes, that has a more solid foundation. I would talk about the foundation with Saturn. So some of your old, for some of you, there's a crumbling away of career path and in the opening up to something new. But for a lot of you, it's also coming into a culmination, into a new power, into a new success story, and being really on top of your game in your career. So pay attention to where you felt stuck. May 23rd to now, you might have felt like everything you did in your career zone was just not working, and you didn't get momentum, and superiors didn't recognize you, and you were just, you know, flat, you know, like a flat line on an EKG thingy, heart monitor. Okay, so now Saturn's got some blood pumping again. It's going forward in an angular part of the chart. It's going to help you find that momentum and direction again in a solid, realistic, sober way that your career can find a good footing on. Look to January 21st for the real momentum when he gets out of his retrograde. And don't forget that he will retrograde out of his shadow. He will retrograde again next June. So you want to capitalize on basically January through to June next year and really go run with that Saturnian ball. Well, Saturn doesn't have a ball, but he might have a hacky sack because they're pretty heavy. You know what I mean? Like a bean bag or something. All righty. All right, so Gemini, sun, moon, rising sign, you are going to experience Saturnian blessings, finally going direct and feeling unstuck again in an area that has to do with your higher education, colleges and campuses, dharma, true purpose, what you want to align your life with is in terms of meaningfulness, the meaningfulness of your life, as well as foreign shores and lands, book publishing, and courts and court cases. Now, that's a lot of meaning up there in that 9th house, right? So for some of you, some of these things will apply. It could mean, like, for instance, if you were stuck in getting a legal thing going, or, you know, something to do with lawsuits or courts, it's going to now turn around. If you were stuck in like getting your applications into colleges, or you felt like you were stuck because you're in the wrong place in your education, things begin to turn around. Saturn will not let you build a foundation in anything that doesn't last. And so, you know, his retrograde is to give you a clear idea of what's stable stable and solid in that area and what is not stable and solid and worth building. So this new momentum could bring a guide, a spiritual teacher, or a mentor into your life, which Saturn can represent in that part of the chart. And so, you may find that within the next few months, you might find a new supporter, a guide, a mentor for you. And the professor at college who takes you under their wing, who knows? And the other thing is that remember, as I said, to all the signs that you don't have full power, full throttle Saturn, if he ever has a throttle, until at least January 21st when he's out of his retrograde shadow. So be patient, be patient, be patient, but things are starting to move forward. So especially when it comes to trips to foreign lands. If you Geminis have been wanting to take a trip to a foreign shore, and we've all been stuck with COVID anyway, but now you are particularly going to find that that possibility begins to turn around, and you will have the means and the way to do it. Saturn is going to support you in that. So it would be getting unstuck from foreign travel, what is it? Restrictions, right? Restrictions. Hang on. I am just looking at the chart without you guys. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising sign for you guys. You're experiencing the Saturn relief of his turnaround in money house. It's for 8th house of jointly held funds, bank loans, grants and stipends, tax rebates, inheritance money. So many ways it can play out. Sometimes it can also be about the deep esoteric occult mysteries of life and all of that. But for a lot of people, it's just practically very much a money house. And if you have a sense that things have been stuck here and you have had frustration, restriction, I mean, it's simple things like you wanted to get money out of a tax account, shelter, but your broker won't let you, or you wanted to liberate an investment, but you couldn't sell it until you got out of a window of time, you're going to be penalized, or, you were trying to work with the IRS or something to get something straightened out in your taxes. I mean, all kinds of backward momentum there in that part of the chart, an inheritance, litigation, or things are going slow and getting it unstuck. Well, all that's turning around now. So Saturn going direct in your 8th house will give you an opportunity for financial flow again in areas that are not your earnings and your paycheck, but those other monies, including spousal money that you share with your partner, including as well, things like alimony, palimony, all of that. So this is shifting for you, and you're going to feel that by January 21st, things to do with that money part of the chart really begin to pick up speed, because Saturn's no longer going back over the same ground he went into when he was retrograde. So he's out of his shadow, and then you can feel like some breath of fresh air. Saturn in your 8th house can look like a tax advisor, a financial advisor, an investment advisor. So if somebody's going to come into your life that you could use in that regard, that would be over the next few months. This energy is moving forward until next June. Saturn wants you to preserve wealth, not speculate and take risks. But, I just have to say, Jupiter will go direct in your money house October 18th. And in that case, it could also be a time to take advantage of an investment opportunity that some of you may become aware of, all right? Sometime between now and, let's say, January 1st. Alrighty. Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. You guys are having Saturn, Lord of time and karma, discipline, constriction, and sobriety, realism, in your 7th house of relationship. Wow. So this has not been easy. If a lot of you Leo rising especially, but sun and moon may have felt confined, restricted, stuck in your primary love relationship, your spouse. This can also apply to business partnerships. That energy, that constriction, you may start to feel it back in December of 2020. And then when Saturn began to retrograde, May 23rd, 2021, he went back over some ground and made you maybe really dig in and feel the energy here of what it is that could be constricted, that is about your relationship that needs to find a new direction. And Saturn wants to build a foundation in your love life. He doesn't want to take anything away here. He wants to add to it, but he's going to only add solid bricks, or solid concrete that can, really withstand the test of time. I'm not going to mince words here, because Saturn in the 7th marriage house often leads to an end of a relationship. For a lot of people, it's a test. It's like an endurance test. It's also like what do you call it? Like a strength test. It's like, yeah. And so, you're getting Saturnian, there's a word I want. you're growing up your relationship, whatever that is. Even if you've been married for 30 years, it's still a grow up of the relationship. And it's becoming more adulting and serious and realistic. And if it doesn't suit you that way, then you may not last, because Saturn will leave your 7th house of marriage and primary relationship by March of 23. And you might then find what you really want to do with this whole story, with this partner, one way or the other, or this partnership. And it applies to business partnership. Saturn going direct will have momentum, and that's exciting after January 21st when he gets out of his shadow. So your relationship between January 21st and June could have some really seriously good new foundation where things begin to take off again. But also Saturn can be an advisor here. So you may pull in mediation, third party advisors, see a therapist with your partner, whatever. It can really mean a wise elder or a sage-like figure or an expert also supporting you in primary love and business partnership. Alrighty, just gonna pause this for a minute. I just gotta realize that I got a call coming in. Pause my recording. Okay, so I'm recording this on Thanksgiving Day in Canada, and I have to go out to dinner with a bunch of my family, or over to my family's place for dinner. So hopefully I'm not rushing you guys. Okay, so we're moving forward to Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. Now, Virgo folk, you have had Saturn in your health house, a house of sickness, the 6th house, which is also the work house and the routines of our life and our daily work routines, as well as things we do to improve our health and to prevent sickness. Anyway, Saturn got here for you guys back in December. Well, he was moving direct. So starting around, December 17th to May 23rd, you probably felt like you were getting some serious positive traction regarding things to do with work routines, colleagues, employees, workspace stuff, and also the idea of your physical wellness. And then May 23rd, something stalled on you likely. I mean, May 23rd until now, something flattened, something went stalling in that. I'm looking at my daughter, she was on a particular prescription that was really good for a skin condition and she couldn't get coverage. It all fell apart in May, June, but now she's got it all back up and running in the last week or two. That's that energy of Saturn getting ready to go direct. And so for some of you people, you may find that things that were stuck in your health protocols or about your body are going to improve. Now, Saturn can be the expert person, like the doctor or the wise healer or somebody who can help you with health stuff. So some of you will find that you come into contact between now and next June, as Saturn is going direct, with that kind of person. A lot more momentum in work as well, especially after January 21st when Saturn goes direct. For some of you, it may mean a new job or a promotion at work or a new level of authority at work, or a boss or a colleague who's above you, benefiting you and trying to help you. But more so after January 21st is my sense of it, waiting for him to get out of that shadow part of the chart. With Jupiter going direct here as well on October 18th, there's definitely a new change in direction for health issues. So some of you Virgos who struggled with the health stuff, Jupiter's got a lot of goodness in that part of the chart for you. I didn't cover Jupiter for all signs. Sorry, guys, that's a whole other video, but I just wanted to bring it in for those Virgos. And Saturn in your 6th house of work is working hard. That's kind of like, the meaning is like she works hard for her money. I mean, you Virgos are going to be digging in and working hard to be successful. You're going to be perseverant and diligent and disciplined. If you're a student, for instance, and you don't really work because you're studying, then you're going to be disciplined, perseverant, and all of that around your studies. So there's this momentum that has to do with digging in, being disciplined, being focused, being willing to do the hard work. So it does say that until March of 23, for a lot of you Virgo rising especially, but sun and moon, working hard is a part of your narrative between now and then. All right, but you're capitalizing on the power of focus and discipline with Aquarius Saturn in dignity to give that to you. Oh, moving the chart forward. I should use my mouse. Anyway, Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign folk, you guys are having the energy of Saturn in the playhouse and the fun and the sex and the pleasure and the romance and the children house, the 5th house. Wow. And the house of the muse. Now, here's a couple cool things. If you're a creative type, like a book writer, an artist of any kind, and Saturn is in the muse house, which he's really been in earnest, okay? In earnest. He did tiptoe in it way back in 2020. We're not going to talk about that. In earnest, entering into that 5th house back in December of 20 until March of 23. you can create a legacy piece of art, a book that will go the distance, a film or a movie that will outlast your whole life. You're creating like legacy content here, and you have the structure, focus, and discipline to do it. Now, this is also a hardworking planet in a fun-loving place, and that doesn't really mix. So I'd say you have to work hard in order to have fun. You know, it's almost like the fun is the carrot at the end of the hard work. Saturn might bring you a new relationship with someone who's older or wiser than you when he's going through that fifth house, and he would bring you somebody that is got a sense of maturity to who they are, something that you can look up to, whether it's physical age maturity or just status or reputation or wisdom or something that you can feel respectful toward. Saturn, though, has been retrograding since May the 23rd until now, October the 11th, and you may have felt stuck in areas of creativity, of producing content that has value and legacy value and foundational qualities. In terms of your relationships to your children, should you have them, you may have felt things were stuck and confined and restricted there as well. Now Saturn's going direct, and you can feel things turning around. And by January 21st, when he gets out of the zone of his shadow, you're going to feel a lot more free to be creative, to connect with your children in an enduring way, to enter into a lasting and enduring love story with somebody you respect. And I think that a lot of the momentum in January through June before he retrogrades again could, for a lot of you Libra risings, bring you a particularly enduring new love story, especially because Jupiter has been traveling in your fifth house and he doesn't leave until the end of the calendar year. So possibly actually you could meet this person between now and the end of the year. Saturn going direct would help with that. All right, just some thoughts, Okay, let's continue. Let's see if I can get this finished in a timely manner. Okay, the whole timestamps thing is what's bothersome. It's like, I'll post this to YouTube, maybe timestamp later. I don't know if I want to work this hard. Thanksgiving Day. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. So, hey, guess what? You get Saturn doing a lot of real estate deals for you. He's in the house of homeland, real estate, domestic, private life, and family of origin, and maybe your mom, the representation of the house or the mother. So first of all, Saturn here being, the guy who likes to create foundations. He's also the builder. That means some of you Scorpio rising people are going to build a new home, create a new home foundation. You could find that you have some enduring legacy stuff going on around your family of origin. Sometimes Saturn going through your fourth can mean there's an inheritance pending, let's say between now and March of 2023. Saturn going through this part of the chart will also help you lay foundations in your life for who you really want to be in the world, so that the roots of who you are can represent themselves effectively in the tree of your career, in the branches of your success and ambition in the world. So it's a real deep, also sobering up of the roots of who you are, and to create a longer term solid foundation for your very own self. Now, this could mean the home life can feel a little bit daunting, restrictive, stuck, confined. You might feel like your home is a prison. Welcome to COVID. This is going to start changing, but it's been in play like home is confined, home feels restricted. I feel restricted or confined in my home, straitjacket in my home. That began, to feel that way maybe around May 23rd until now as Saturn retrograded. He goes back and he's trying to help you find a solid foundation by getting rid of the wobbly stuff. So you may have actually changed a lot of things in your home. You may have changed the way you structure your private life, or the way you and those people in your home interact. Maybe you put up new rules, Saturn, for respectful engagement with your roommates or your friends or your family in your home. Now he's going to go direct, as I said today, and he will give you new momentum around real estate. I know one Scorpio rising, my son, who's waiting to hear if a real estate deal is going to go through, and I think it will. I've been predicting that since a year ago. That would help liberate him and his woman, his fiance, I'll call her, from a home with a great advantage of making a lot of money in this particular deal. And I would say that a lot of you Scorpios are going to find some momentum around things to do with the real estate story. Starting now, real momentum after January 21st, though. That's going to be when Saturn is out of his shadow. So the promise is really picking up speed between January 21st and June when he goes retrograde. So that's the real yummy space right there. Some of you may have an elderly relative who's visiting or staying with you and has been staying with you or will be staying with you during this transit. Not uncommon to have a parent come home. So keep that in mind, because this doesn't end until March of 2023. All righty, let's keep going. Okay, so Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. For you, you're going to feel Saturn's stuck space of regression and contraction and confinement, finally giving relief now going forward in the house of siblings, in the house of your local neighborhood, your online social media, virtual community as well. And also things you want to learn, studies that have to do with skills-based education, and also your mind. This is third house is our mental, our ideas, our thoughts. You may have been feeling really, really down. Sometimes Saturn retrograding in the third house can make you feel like bummed out or depressed. But he's been retrograding since, May 23rd. Going back over old ground, trying to figure out what things in the relationships with siblings, aunts, uncles, and cousins, local neighborhood, and trips and travel, short-term trips and travel, especially domestically, need to be straightened out. And now he's going direct, and he'll be direct between now and June of next year. Pay special attention though to real momentum after January 21st when he gets out of the shadow of his retrograde and then really begins to pull things together for you. I know one Sagittarius rising who's been dealing with some issues with his brother, and I think those things that got stuck there are going to pick up and take off and go in a positive new direction. So sibling relationships in particular turn a corner now, but more so after January 21st. If you want to learn something like, a licensing, a skill-based education, now with Saturn going direct, you can get those things done. You can apply or sign up or begin to study, all right? And things should turn out that way for you. And if you want to travel, especially after the 18th of October, short trips and domestic travel especially are now going to be less stuck and less problematic, especially after the 18th of October when Jupiter also heads direct. Last but not least, I'm going to talk about Capricorn. Now, Capricorn, like Aquarius, we have an intimate relationship with Saturn. He's the Lord of both of our signs. And so you are someone who, tends to want to get along with Saturn. And therefore, you are not going to argue with his mission, mandate, and directions for you. Although nobody really likes a retrograde Saturn, and for you it's also very sloggy. So he was retrograding since May the 23rd in your second house of earnings, money, possessions, the voice and the vocation. Sometimes it just connects to the livelihood, sometimes it connects to the earnings from the livelihood. Self-worth and self-value can be there as well. Now, this money house, basically, Saturn retrograding since May, confinement, constriction, contraction in your money story. But he goes backwards to refine and to pull out the dead wood and to get rid the new foundation laid. He'll be here in the second house of money, which he did get to that zone right in December 2020, until he'll be there till March of 23. So you're having a long window with Saturn in your money house. Now he can bring you a feeling that you're going to create financial well-being in an enduring, steady as she goes, solid and lasting way. So for some of you, it could be a new career path. For some of you, it could be something to do with the way you do the work you do, or the job itself could change. Saturn here can also mean that you could find that your money fears are being addressed. Saturn is a god of fear, and particularly weighs in the second house of basic needs, right? The resources that keep us alive, food, shelter, water, and the money that makes that possible. You may have to undo some money fears. A lot of Capricorn rising, especially people, will be undoing their anxiety and their fears about well-being financially and money and safety and security. You have opportunity here. I mean, Jupiter is in that house until the end of the year, has been since like last December, trying to bring you some kind of opportunity financially to grow your financial well-being. And now that Saturn is direct, and he'll be direct until next June, this is a lovely window of momentum and possibly finding new foundations for financial success as well. you've got Jupiter's blessings there at the end of the year, which helps. I'll be doing a separate video on Jupiter. But I'd say for some of you, you might find that the reason Saturn is there is he's trying to square you up with a promotion because you're going to rise in authority. You know, your rank is going to increase to a new level of expertise. So that's another possible outpicturing of Saturn's participation in the second house while he trines the 10th house of career. Alrighty, I hope that makes some sense. I hope that's useful to you. Oh, wait, one more thing. This is the house of what you put in your mouth, what you eat and what you drink. And Saturn is constriction, confinement, you know, containment. Maybe some of you may till now had to like really restrict your caloric intake, really take some foods that were not good for you, and limit the amount of that food or drink in your life, you know, so you might be sobering up your food style. Saturn's going direct, so maybe you've learned what you need to learn, and now you're going to move forward with this new foundation in your diet. All right. Okay, I hope that was useful. Thanks everyone for listening. I'll see you next on probably the Jupiter. No, I don't know. No, it's the moon. It's the moon. I'll be doing a video next on the Aries full moon. Stay tuned. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. And hit the notification bell so you know when I put something up. It helps me grow my channel. It helps the algorithm. I do listen to all your comments, read them, and comment back if I think I have something to say. All right. So if you want to make a comment, I'd love to listen and read and chime in with you. Ciao.